morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, December 6, 2019.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners Villegas, Garcia, James, Davis, and Caloza are present this morning. We do have a quorum. May we please start with Bureau introductions, beginning with street lighting.
Richard Saragumba, street lighting.
Mike Scudetto, sanitation.
Jerry Carapino, street services.
Good morning, Ramsey Sawaya, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, George Espindola, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
And TJ Knight, Assistant Executive Officer. We have no speaker cards under public comments, no neighborhood council commentary, and no speaker cards under any of our items this morning.
Let's talk about it after the meeting. Okay. Great, thank you. Then we'll close general public comment as well as the neighborhood council category of commentary. Agenda item number 3, joint report, contract administration and DOT for council districts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 11. Requested contract acceptance for the Canyons and Pacific Palisades automated traffic surveillance and control systems. That's our ATSAC. Recommending that the board accept the contract. Mr. Espindola, is it? It says Espinoza. Oh, hi. It's Espindola. I thought so.
Yes, good morning. George Espindola with the Bureau of Contract Administration. The Canyons and Pacific Palisades Automated Traffic Surveillance and Control Project was executed by your board on June 13, 2011 to Manuel Brothers, a Qantas company, in the amount of $5,996,651 with a contingency of $599,665, totaling $6,596,316. Notice to proceed was issued on June 20th, 2011. This project consisted of upgrading existing traffic signal controllers, fiber optic cables, cameras and poles, new traffic signal poles, loop detectors, and data communication equipment. 48 change orders were issued, totaling $362,521 with 48 cents, increasing the total cost of this project to $6,359,172 with 48 cents. Final corrections were completed on February 25th, 2015. Funding was through Prop 1B, that's Traffic Light Synchronization Program, California Transportation Commission Resolution, and the Westchester ATSAC Project Transportation Grant Fund, Department 94, Fund 655. PCA's Office of Contract Compliance has found that this contract has met all equal employment opportunity and labor compliance requirements of the contract. There are no unresolved property complaints or disputed funds.
Thank you, Mr. Espindola. Any questions? Any questions? Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioner Caloza. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any issue saying number 3 forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith. Colleagues, I want to take agenda item number 5 now. We normally do oral reports at the end, but there's a reason I want to take number 5 now. So, Mr. Cox, you are here. So we will have our status on major upcoming street improvement projects from Street Services.
Good morning, thank you. Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, Bureau Representative and Executive Secretary. I'm Michael Cox with Bureau of Streets LA. In order to keep the public informed of upcoming resurfacing projects and to minimize the impact of the community as well as delays to the commuters, Streets LA would like to provide you with the update of all major upcoming street improvement projects. The following projects are scheduled for the upcoming weekends. For the metro region, Zone 1, we're going to stand down this weekend due to inclement weather. The following weekend, Saturday 12/14 and 12/15, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will cold mill and pave MLK Junior Boulevard, South Service Road, from Marlton Ave to Buckingham Road. Funding Pavement Preservation Program and CD10, South Los Angeles Neighborhood Council. In the in the Valley region, Saturday, 12/7, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will cold mill Reseda Boulevard from Cali Vista to Chimeneas Ave / Rinaldi Street. Funding is PPP and CD12, Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. Following weekend, Saturday, 12/14 and 12/15, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will pave Reseda Boulevard from Cala Vista, Chimeneas Ave to Rinaldi. Same funding, PPP and CD12, Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. Press releases have been broadcasted and notifications have been issued. Streets LA has coordinated with the City Council office to assist with the outreach to the stakeholders. We have coordinated with Los Angeles Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. This concludes my report for today.
Thank you, sir. Any questions at all? Any questions regarding this oral report? All right, thank you, sir.
All right,
The
thank
oral
you.
report will be received. Have a nice weekend. We always appreciate getting the information.
Okay. Good, have a good weekend as
All
well.
right, thank you. You too. Colleagues, give me just one. Kelvin Garvan, you are in the hearing room today. Come forward, sir. So we wanted to provide a certificate of recognition from the Board of Public Works, but we didn't want to necessarily do it at the end of your presentation because we didn't want to take anything away from the presentation and the questions that came after it. So we decided that we would do it today. You have been amazing, Kelvin, with your board attendance. We knew without asking you that you would be here anyway. So we didn't have to make sure that you were going to be here to surprise you. But we did want to provide an official recognition, really, of the great work that you've done for us here at the Board of Public Works. We look forward, obviously, to continuing a relationship with you, and just wanted to provide a thank you in the way that we do it at the Board of Public Works, which is one of these lovely certificates of recognition with the city seal that I love every time I see them. And I want to read it for the record. In the certificate of recognition, the Board of Public Works honors Kelvin Garvan in recognition of your valuable service as a Board of Public Works intern for the City of Los Angeles and your contribution and dedication to advance initiatives on food waste diversion, tree management, and general public policy. And just to really say thank you, Kelvin, for the time that you gave us this past quarter. All right, thank you, sir. And I'll start with Commissioner Davis.
Well, I want to first of all say that it's been a pleasure to work with you during your fellowship here in the Board of Public Works. I found your work to be very efficient and very innovative, and I've appreciated the response that you have given to the various issues you've observed in the board meeting, particularly around the issues of diversity and around making sure that we had the resources that reflected some of the goals that we sought to achieve in terms of making sure people are included in our work. And again, I want to compliment you on being passionate about your presentations. And I jokingly said at the last meeting that you didn't put us to sleep. And the reason why you didn't is because it is clear that you feel very deeply about the work that you have done here. And I've learned a lot in terms of our ability to capture food and how, in fact, that could really improve the quality of life for a lot of people who've been locked out of society, whether it be the homeless, and that how we could also show our humanity in using some of this food for caring for some of the animals who certainly of which I have great respect for dogs and some of the other animals as well. And I do feel is our responsibility. And also, I will say that it really underscored what one of our departments, the Bureau of Sanitation, can do in terms of composting, composting.
We know what you mean.
Yeah.
We're with
Thank
you.
you for that. So it was a very great report, and again, a very important issue for us as we move forward in trying to implement public policy that'll make a difference. And I thank you for being here and being a change agent as one of our fellows this year.
Thank you, Kelvin. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you. I didn't get a chance to work with you closely, but I really appreciate the subject matter that you were able to provide us good research on, and hopefully we will be able to take some of those components to the next level. So really appreciate all the effort and work that you did on it. It's good quality work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Couple more, Kelvin. One moment. Commissioner Garcia?
Yeah, thank you, President James. Kevin, I just want to say thank you. I ditto what Commissioner Villegas just said. Thank you for bringing that topic up. It's something that I think we should all take a look at, and it wasn't something that I was kind of knowledgeable about. So you opened up that door, and for that, thank you. Thank you for doing that, because now I want to pay more attention to how we can make that happen here in the city. And so for that, good luck in whatever you do. And I want to thank also Lacey for sending you over and making sure that we had an intern here at Board of Public Works, and we'll welcome anytime they want to send us more. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Caloza?
Thank you, President James. I think we're all a little jealous of President James this quarter, since he got your assistance and he spoke so highly of you every single time your name came up, and the work and expertise that you brought to the office. I really appreciated your presentation, and you looked at what we're doing here at the city, and you also looked at it in the macro scale as well, and how we fit into the larger pipeline of waste recovery and food recovery, and the thoughtfulness that you put into it about how we can actually implement your plan. And we're really looking forward to building off of the work that you've put together and the plan that you've proposed, and we can't wait to see what you do next. So congratulations. Thank you for your contributions to the city, and you've been a real pleasure to have seeing you in and out of the hallways here in Public Works. So thank you.
I feel we'll see Kelvin again. Kelvin, if the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you for this honor, President James and commissioners and representatives of the bureaus. It's been very encouraging to be here watching you all work together. It's been inspiring to me because I see that there's an enormous amount of collaboration and commitment. There's a commitment to each other's agenda as well as to diversity. Filipino night, the lighting ceremony, was something that opened up a whole window of ideas about just the culture, the food of the Philippines. Recognition of my work is well appreciated, and hopefully this will also be a recognition of this topic and your commitment to actually pursue different possibilities to make the ability to feed people, more people, and decrease the amount of food insecurity in the city and the county a reality. So thank you again, and I'm really fortunate to have been here and spent the time with you all, and as they say, Godspeed, good luck in all your endeavors here on the board, and I'm available to work with you all to make these that I presented or other solutions a reality. So thank you again. This is a great honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelvin. So if you don't leave yet, we want to get a photo with you with a certificate over here, and Mr. Jordan will do a favor for me, I think. He's so good to us. Okay, returning to our agenda, let's go to agenda item number 1, Engineering Council District 1, a budget increase request and change order numbers 158 and 159. This is for Griffith Company and the North Spring Street Viaduct Widening and Rehabilitation Project, Phase 1. First, authorize $670,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $27,690,837.04 for the project, and authorize the city engineer to issue change order numbers 158 and 159 for the project to compensate the contractor for daily overhead related to the various unforeseen conditions, which we'll hear more about, that have been encountered throughout the project. Mr. Sachs, you did put in a card on number 1. And I know you were late, Mr. Sachs. I'll add general public comment to
Thank you very
later
much.
on.
I appreciate it.
Go ahead.
So let's see. Why don't we just jump right into this and say an additional contingency. So I guess the original contract was for $27 million and $20,000, and your additional is $600. So what was the original contingency fee? And we just talked about this, about change orders to compensate the contractor for daily overhead related to various unforeseen conditions. And you would think that the contract, you say it, and then, so let it be said, let it be written. Herb Wesson used to do that. King Tut, as we called him in the city council chambers, because he thought he was King Tut. But King Tut had a pyramid, and King Tut just passes gas. But anyway, so where is this project for? And by the way, it would really, I don't mean to tell you what to do, but I'm going to say this anyway. They used to be able to hear the presentations from the departments, and then we'd be able to
I don't mind doing that. You just have to ask.
Oh, okay. I don't want to tell you. I mean, so.
Dr. Williams always will ask if he wants to go first or last.
No. It's not. I don't know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm saying, it just came to my attention that a lot of times I speak after the fact, and sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about, and sometimes I do know what I'm talking about, even though I don't know what I'm talking about. But I would appreciate it if it's possible to have the city departments make their presentations. I don't want to change your record.
No, I do it on occasion, but you need to request it. And when you request it, then I'll usually grant it.
Is it like requested every meeting, or should
no? What we'll do is, Dr. Williams is kind of the best example. When I'll call the item.
I'd say I'd like to hear the presentation first.
Yes, that's kind of what we do. What I've been doing.
And by the way, I haven't seen Dr. Williams in a while, so I hope he's well. Anyway, the viaduct, because, again, I bring up the 6th Street was a viaduct, but it's also a bridge. So it's always the language.
2 minutes.
Thank you. It's always the language.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Ms. Lau. This project's been going on for a while, obviously. It's a big project. We see results of it that come kind of in phases, but go ahead.
Yes. Good morning, Shirley Lau with the Bureau of Engineering. I'll start off with some background on this project. This viaduct, it's located in the northeast part of downtown Los Angeles, connecting Lincoln Heights to Chinatown. The structure itself is approximately 1,600 lineal feet. It consists of 4 vehicular lanes and goes over the LA River as well as 4 Southern California Railroad active tracks. The purpose of the project was to seismically retrofit and widen the original 50-foot wide viaduct by 23 feet to the south. And that was to minimize, potential for structural collapse during a seismic event and to accommodate standard traffic lanes, shoulders, bike lanes, and ADA compliant sidewalks. One of the more complex features of the widening consisted of constructing the double arches under the bridge that is compatible with the original historic structure. And the widening also included construction of a replica barrier rail to match the existing historic rail. And we also tried to salvage the historic concrete light poles for reinstallation. Another component is we installed a recycled water line that goes across the viaduct, and that provides irrigation to the LA State Historic Park right now. So obviously challenges a lot during construction because we were working in the LA River and we were confined to working 6 months out of the year between April and October. We also had extensive coordination with the 4 active railroads that were nearby. So the project encountered unforeseen conditions primarily during construction of the bridge foundations. While working on the east arch abutment, a man-made concrete structure was encountered in direct conflict when we were trying to put the shoring in to do the piles. And this led to a lot of exploration of the concrete structure and the situation and how to move forward, and the subsequent remediation of the item there. So the remediation impacted the overall schedule of the project, and so we had to get out of the river by October 15th, and we had to cover everything up and then delay the work until the following dry season. So that issue is for the change order number 158. Contractor was compensated for the direct construction costs related to that unforeseen condition. The supplemental agreement change order 158 will compensate the contractor for extended overhead costs for 85 working days, not to exceed the amount of $332,847.25. Another unforeseen condition occurred when the contractor encountered natural crude oil. It was below the surface of the LA River. We were drilling for the new bridge foundation piles. The presence of the oil required testing, proper disposal. We also had to extend the foundation piles and revise the installation method. Again, the contractor was compensated for the direct construction costs related to that unforeseen condition. The supplemental agreement change order 159 in this report will compensate for the extended overhead cost for 66 working days, not to exceed $258,446.10. This is a federally funded project, so all of our funding requests require Caltrans review and approval. While the project delays referenced herein, they were encountered in 2014 and 2015. Caltrans, they requested that we submit for the additional contingency and authorization of these large change orders at the end of the project. So
Shirley, on that point, to interrupt you, based on your experience, would we expect that those reimbursements would be approved at the end of the project?
Typically, yes. For the Highway Bridge Program and these bridges, Caltrans understands there's a lot of unforeseen conditions. And at the time, we knew that we documented and we had discussed verbally with them. But when they wanted the formal submittal of all the documents at the end of the project completion. Yeah. And so with the contractor's concurrence, we deferred these 2 change orders until the end. The project was completed November 18, 2018, and since then we've had numerous reviews of the documents, the change orders, all the backup data, even the reports that documented a lot of the investigation and the exploration. We've been dealing with Caltrans for many months, and so on September 4th, they granted us the authorization and the payment for this. So we will be reimbursed for these change orders. And just a quick update, since this is a federal funded project, we did advertise it using the U.S. Department of Transportation's Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. In this report, at the time we wrote this report, these are the numbers that we calculated, and we will work with BCA's Office of Contract Compliance when we close out the project to discuss the final DBE compliance. So just wanted to touch base on that. These change orders requested, it's within the budget approved by the Seismic Governance Committee, no impact on the general fund. It will be reimbursed by Caltrans. So the Bureau requests the board to approve the recommendations set forth in the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Just one quick thing before I go to Commissioner Davis, and then we'll see if I have more. But, we see a number of these bridge projects over the years. You've seen more than we have, I suspect. And one of the consistent things I see, and this is not a slight on engineering, which does amazing work here, obviously. It's more the nature of the projects. Bridge projects seem to, it doesn't matter whether it's in LA or not, I mean, anywhere in the country. Our bridge projects, if you look at, typically federally funded, but again, that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with it either. But for some reason, we see the long extended additional working days seem to occur on bridge projects. Is that, and I just wonder if, knowing that that data is out there, those metrics are there for anybody that wants to do research. I mean, maybe it's something for a student group at USC or UCLA to, I'd be curious to know kind of what the average extension of time from the original projected date for bridge projects around the country. And the reason I ask the question is, when we make those projections for future projects, is that something that we bake in initially, or do we not, and then we just kind of see at the end of the project what ends up happening?
No, I think we usually try to be conservative and anticipate a longer period of construction time in the initial advertisement. However, we've noticed that with the LA River project, or projects over the waters, it is very, very strict. We just have to move out exactly on October 15th when all the regulatory agencies ask us to. So I think specifically the projects over the waterways are difficult for us.
So there's a big difference between waterways versus just a bridge
if it's over a street,
an arterial
or
street.
and also we've also seen difficulty dealing with the rail. So we have other projects where it's over the railway, and they give us very small windows of opportunity to do the work. It's usually in the middle of the night for 2 hours, 4 hours. So dealing with rail, and I think over the waterways, has been quite challenging, and definitely we can consider all the extended time, given all the past projects we've had, and we can continue to make that time frame better so we don't have to go into this time of extending the contract.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lau. Commissioner Davis.
Wanted to touch bases with you in terms of our collaboration with BCA, who is going to review, I guess, the inclusion, because it's a federally funded project. Do you anticipate perhaps at the end of the project, in the review, that there could possibly be more diversity than currently exists in the project, or is presented in the proposal?
I don't believe so, because of the numbers that we have. And I think the main reason the number is low is because one of the disadvantaged business enterprises, they during construction, they lost their DBE certification. However, because had they not lost it, then they would have been meeting the original pledge. So I think, but that matter, I think we will look at through Office of Contract Compliance and discuss with them and collaborate. So the final report, I think, you will have an update on the compliance issue.
I see. And so it is our practice that we, after implementing the project, then we collaborate with DCA afterwards, or do we, going in, work with them in terms of putting federal projects together?
Yeah, my experience is we've been working with them at the end of the project, and I believe the contractor submits documentation during, but then Bureau of Engineering at the end, we do look at all this, collaborating with BCA.
So then you kind of go through an evaluation process of our performance when you
Right, and then BCA looks at compliance with the federal guidelines.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1, seconded by Commissioners Villegas, Garcia, and Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt number 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend, Shirley. Any issue setting number 1 forthwith? We'll send number 1 forthwith. Agenda item number 2 is a payment of relocation costs for East Cesar Chavez Avenue, Lorena Street, Indiana Street intersection improvements project. The right-of-way number 33709, La Jolla Tortilleria? There we go. La Jolla Tortilleria. Incorporated. We've just seen them here before. Recommending that the board first authorize the city engineer or his designee to approve payment for relocation costs related to the relocation of La Jolla Tortilleria, incorporated from 3283 East Cesar Chavez Avenue, Los Angeles, 90063. That's the subject property. To 460 North Ford Boulevard, East Los Angeles, California, 90022. That's the replacement property. For reasonable, necessary, and eligible relocation costs for the not-to-exceed amount of $864,140, which includes a 15% contingency. Secondly, authorize the city engineer or his designee to approve payment for the substitute equipment for the not-to-exceed amount of $75,000 Third, authorize the city engineer to request LADOT as Transportation Accounting Division to draw the demands for progress payments in a not-to-exceed amount of $864,140. And fourth, authorize the city engineer to request DOT Accounting Division to draw demands for a not-to-exceed amount of $75,000 for the substitute equipment. Mr. Sachs, you have a card in on number 2.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. So I was wondering when I read this item, was there any neighborhood council input? It's an iconic area, iconic street. Did the neighborhood council have any input on this agenda item? And even the city council office. And after listening to the previous item about the viaduct project being done for Caltrans, this relocation for this business is being done for LADOT? Is it being done for Metro? And what's going to go in place of the relocated business? It's very, I guess, significant that the city is going to pay to relocate businesses. Have they done that on other projects? I mean, we hear a lot about the Crenshaw line, and we hear a lot about the Expo line, and we hear a lot about the, well, not so much about the Expo line, but the Gold line. Was there a lot of relocation of businesses? We hear a lot of business, you can get business assistance, but relocation of the businesses. And speaking of the Expo, the Gold line and the Crenshaw line, it was interesting at Metro yesterday, people were complaining about not undergrounding the Crenshaw line, yet part of the Expo line is, not part of the Expo, part of the Gold line is underground. And how they did that, only Metro knows. Only Metro knows. Whew. So I was just wondering, I would kind of think that you'd want to table this and get some input from the neighborhood council on this item. See, I mean, I'm sure they're not against having the business relocated. It's probably been there forever, and but just what's going to go in place of it? Nobody, there's no information about what's going to replace the business once it's been moved. Is it going to be traffic lanes widened? Is it going to be turn signals put in? There's nothing in here. It's just we're paying to move this business so we can do what? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The feeling that the affected business does not want to table the item. Mr. Jimenez, welcome back, sir.
Good morning. Udi Jimenez, Chief Real Estate Officer for the Bureau of Engineering. So to hopefully answer some of the questions that have been posed and to give you a little background, this is where this project is taking place where actually the city of Los Angeles ended. This is the border, the easternmost border of the city of Los Angeles, and it continues eastbound. It becomes county property. And so for many years, part of the reason that this project is being proposed is to improve the traffic conditions, and a traffic circle, a roundabout, is proposed in this location, and at the exact location where this business is going to be displaced from is going to be part of the traffic circle. So they're being displaced for that reason, and they'll be moving maybe 2 miles east, not far. It's in the same general neighborhood. And this is 1 to 2 businesses that is being displaced by this project. Both of them are tortilla factories, and both of them are going to be relocating into the county of Los Angeles. This one in particular is the smaller of the two. They've been there for maybe 5 years. Prior to the city acquiring the property, the city owns the property and is now ready to relocate the property. Fortunately, this business owner found a replacement property, which is sometimes a challenge, and found a property nearby. It's in a good location, and what we're asking the board to approve is the cost of reestablishing the business at the replacement site. We requested bids from the owner. He provided 2 bids. The bids were for $885,543,000, and the second bid was for $968,041. We analyzed the bids. Not all of the bid included all eligible items under the California Code for eligible expenses for relocation. So we determined that $751,425 were eligible, reimbursable expenses. And so that's the money that we approved, and that's the money that we're asking the board to approve with the additional 15% contingency. In addition to the relocation amount, we're asking for an additional $75,000 for the final payment of the substitute equipment that will be needed to reestablish the business at the new location. And that's the end of my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So that was all negotiated and went through kind of the standard relocation process that's required?
Correct. So we base the approval process. What we do is when we receive the bids, typically we analyze them for the validity of the bid and whether the items are reimbursable. And if they're reimbursable, we'll determine that they're eligible and we'll pay for them.
Okay. Any questions at all regarding this process? I know that we've worked with this business for some time now, so I'm sure they're ready to see action. Commissioner Villegas?
You know, I apologize for my coming in late on this issue, but just for clarification and for background purposes, I see where the new location of the business is going to be taking place just off the 710.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And so I'm just curious, you know, it seems like it's the operations, right, of the tortilleria that's getting
Correct.
replaced. It's not necessarily foot traffic that goes into that business, but more so clientele to sell to. And so I was just wondering, is it going to be making a difference in terms of location, and was that taken into consideration in terms of like a financial prospectus or something?
Right. So the identification of the replacement site is left 100% up to the business owner because he or she will decide what's best for the business. So that's left up to the business owner. What happens is prior to that building being purchased by the owner, we purchased the building that is going to be demolished, and so he has some money to buy a replacement building, and that's the one that he chose. There's no foot traffic. This particular business doesn't do any retail business. It's all wholesale business, so it's not as dependent on the exposure, but it's a very good location. It's right at the off-ramp. In terms of the value of the building itself, the real estate, we think it's probably a better location and that it's likely to appreciate more than the displacement side. So I think the owner made a good choice, and that's the building that is going to fit his needs.
Thank you. Any other questions? Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We'll send number 2 forthwith. Have a nice weekend, sir. Agenda item number 4. We've cleared the voting items, correct, Mr. Knight?
Yes, that is correct, President.
Great, thank you. Agenda item number 4, oral report on our specialized on-call maintenance services update from LA Sanitation. Mr. Vesey. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, Council, and Mr. Knight. The Board adopted our request to establish this contract in October of 2018. Since that time, I've been going back and forth with the CAO to get the report to Council. It still hasn't gone to Council. However, we ended up doing a new 1022 process, and we got the CAO's determination November 4th of this year. So the analyst that's working on it told me that she has finalized her draft report, and she is circulating it through their internal process this week, and hopefully in the near future I'll get the draft report and we can get it to Council and come back and have you guys execute.
Thank you, sir. Any questions at all? Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Davis.
You said that the CAO was evaluating it, and she gave an assessment. In her assessment, she supports the proposal as you presented it, or did she make some augmentation to our presentation?
As modified, she approved it. Some of the issues were they were concerned with cost controls, and I pointed out where in the contract language we do have protection for the city where if we feel that the contractors aren't giving us the best value to the city, that we can terminate the contract at the city's will. Another issue was the unions. That's why we did another 1022, because the first 1022 we did was in 2012, 7 years ago. So in addition to that, we set up meetings with the various unions, SEIU, IBEW, Building Trades, and IUOE, and got their approval to move forward. So that satisfied the CAO's concerns, and now we're hoping to move forward.
So when we got the union support, that means that they acknowledge the bifurcated focus that we have as a government to provide both jobs for employees on one hand and yet contracts for people who are small business owners and the like on the other hand.
That is correct.
They've accepted those.
Yes, and they've also accepted the fact that the volume of work that we have outweighs the volume of staff that we have.
Correct.
And we were able to show them that, document that, and get their approval that they won't protest.
Correct. And undoubtedly, we are expected to do both. We're expected to be an influence in the economy. But to that end, I'm curious, did the CAO have any issue, concern, or questions about our ability to have inclusion in any way? Did they mention that word?
No, I didn't get any inquiries regarding inclusion. However, during our discussions, we did talk about local hiring and the ability for the contractors to bring in people from local hiring halls.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Anything further? Mr. Sachs, you put in a card on number 4. Thank you, Mr. Visa.
So yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. So I'm really somewhat curious about this, and I appreciate the gentleman making a terrific presentation. But the volume of work, so when this contract, he mentioned that it was started in 2012. So you put out a request for proposals in 2012 for this work to be done, and it's almost 10 years later and nothing has been done with the project. But there has been numerous council actions as far as pay raises for the city employees. And we're talking about local hiring for the work to be done. So I'm trying to do a timeline here in my mind mentally, which is, we don't want to go there, but if you do a timeline and you put out a request for proposal, you would expect the work to be done within a reasonable amount of time from the request for proposal. You get submitted bids and you would do the work, you do the research, and you'd pick a bidder, and then you would have the work bid out, and whatever happens, then you'd get into the contingency fees and the budgets and all this stuff. But you haven't done, nothing's been done at all. Essentially, we have a contract that's been out since 2012, and the CAO is looking at to do something and to put it before the city council, and there'll be a new city council in 2020. It kind of makes it tough when you're looking at the city as a resident or somebody. I like to come to the city council meetings, and you wonder, well, what is going on exactly? This is going to be, and that's just when the work will be proposed. It's not a finished date, because it'll be another 2-3 years after that before the work is even finished. Who knows exactly how long it'll take on this project. There should be some kind of better maintenance for the timeline from
2 minutes.
when the projects are started to when the projects are finished. Thank you. And everybody have a good weekend.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sachs. Well, I'd indicated, if you wanted, I know you were late today, and if you wanted to speak on general public comment, I would reopen it for you. I don't know if you're interested in that or not. Yeah, well, I'll reopen it for you, and then that'll close our agenda out. It's the holiday season, Mr. Sykes. Go right ahead.
Thank you for making me laugh. That's a gift. Laughter is a gift. You know that? Thank you very much. So, general public comment. There was a really important board meeting yesterday at the Metro Board, and you really learn a few things. That is one tough, nutty board, or a board nuts, a board full of nuts. Fascinating stuff. We have a new general counsel instead of county counsel, which was done without going into closed session or letting the public know. But the most fascinating part was listening to some of the council members or the board members discuss the difference with metro projects and everything. And if you think the city has some difficult procedures and the county has some difficult procedures, they are nothing compared to what the Metro Board is done with the amount of money that they use. The one thing that they discussed a lot of different projects, but the one thing they did not discuss was giving drugs to the people who come to the meetings. Because you need to have some kind of opiate to sit there and listen to those board members discuss their successful endeavors that they put Metro in, and their successful endeavors mean 37 steps back for the public. It's really amazing. But you do learn some things. You learn that there's Metro property, and there's city property, and there's county property, but there is no public property. And when they do projects, they're doing projects based on whether the Metro owns it, the city owns it, or the county owns it.
2 minutes.
The public owns nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Knight, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, we have.
Okay, then we are adjourned with the exception of the management meeting. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice weekend.